Dynamask tutorial. You guys have been asking for this, and I tried to do one and then realized I didn't record any of it. So you're finally getting what you asked for. For the prep work, you're going to want scissors and pliers or some form of screwdriver. And personally, I like to use sandpaper to sand these down first. But in past experiences, I have a mask piece, and we're gonna set that aside for later. Now that you have that out, you're gonna put it someplace safe and try to keep all of the little screws and knobs together. This part's optional. I'm gonna sand this down a little bit. Now that we have that sanded, it is time for our base coat. Get ready for a lot of white paint. Grab a really thick brush and just start going to town. Congratulations, you now have one base coat done. If you're doing a color that's darker than whatever color the mask you have, then you can kind of just skip this step. Honestly, like if it's solid black, then don't even worry about painting this white. The base color around this mask is going to be white though, so I have to keep going for quite a while until the white is completely opaque and you cannot see the gray through there anymore. If you think it'll help, you can trace the design on with a light pencil. Make sure it's very light. Now you start painting on your design. I'm doing one solid coat of just straight up blue, and then I will start on the ombre. So that will be a little bit different. If you're just doing a solid color, then just keep going until it's opaque. After some back and forth, you should get this. Grab your favorite sealer and coat the Dynamask. And you are pretty much done for now. On to the ears. Get yourself a good old notebook and a pen and line your Dynamask up to the paper. And you're going to trace out the small area where it touches the head. Like so. Draw out the ear shape you want. I'm going for somewhat of a cow ear, but it's entirely up to what you want to do. Cut it out and then trace it onto the foam. Now you're going to cut these out. Once you've cut them out, you can start rounding them around the edges, and you can do either one of two steps here. You can either take them and like glue them to the mask as is, and then furr them later, but I am adding a hood to this one, so I am just going to set these aside and we will add them later. Now we will work on the eyes. Go to your lovely mesh stash and cut out some pieces to make your eyes. Now that you have your little mesh squares, you're going to hold them up to the mask on the other side and then trace around the edges with chalk. I'm doing just like blobs of color and then I'll add the detail on later, so I am just going to simply do the entire square white and then paint over it again. Try to avoid having your paint explode on you, unlike someone I know. Glue the eyes in place. Now put the mask back in. And now you are done with the eyes. On to furring the mask. You're now going to pattern and fur the ears, and we're going to set those aside. You're going to take a hoodie or a jacket and place it onto a folded over sheet of fabric and trace it, and that is going to be the start of your hood. After you've sewn this edge near the top, you're going to place it onto your mask and just hold it there for a little bit. Trace the chin onto paper and then trace that onto the fabric. And usually a good bet is a whole sheet of paper under that with about an inch of excess to sew onto the remaining edge here. Now that you have that sewn, you're going to glue the fur onto the mask. And this is what it looks like completely glued on. Make sure to glue around the edges to flatten out the fur. We're now going to hand sew the ears onto the hood. And there you go, you're done. You've got a complete Dynamask. This tutorial does not include any accessories. Dynamass tutorial. You guys have been asking for this, and I tried to do one and then realized I didn't record any of it. So you're finally getting what you asked for. For the prep work, you're going to want scissors and pliers or some form of screwdriver. And personally, I like to use sandpaper to sand these down first, but in past experience,